howdy, and welcome to Mo's World, the baseball podcast. Yep, another baseball podcast where we talk about baseball like a few friends sitting at the bar. We welcome your input to help us improve and make us grow. Alrighty, in our 6th episode of Season 2, we are going to talk a little bit about the Braves. Yep, I know, a little local Braves talk. And the question is, can they return to their 2021 World Series team dominance? Now, the Braves really didn't do a lot with their roster, and they didn't really need to. And I was glad to see that they didn't panic over last year. Now, another neat thing is, since we had our road trip episode in episode 5, I was thinking that the Braves have a lot of their minor league affiliates really close. I looked into it and I realized that the Braves and the Seattle Mariners are the only Major League Baseball teams with all of their top minor league affiliates in the same metropolitan area. Now, it's so cool because the single A Rome Emperors are 65 miles away from Truist Field. And the double A affiliate, which just moved to Columbus, the Columbus Clingstones, they're 115 miles away. And the triple A team, the Gwinnett Stripers, they're only 36 miles away from where the Braves Major League Baseball team play. I thought that was a cool thing that we have the opportunity here to see all 3 levels of prospects coming up through the system, and they're all relatively a token road trip. So the Braves have conveniently located their minor league teams really close to Atlanta. And, we'll be visiting these locations this summer, and we'll let you know about that. Now, getting back to the team that they have this year. Now, the 2025 roster, when I look at this roster, I'm glad that they didn't make any changes because this is still a damn good team. Now, the Braves have returning. Now, this whole team is really returning. First base is Matt Olson. Second base, Ozzie Albies. Third base, Austin Riley. Shortstop, we have Orlando Arcia. Or he might be threatened by the rookie Nacho Alvarez Jr. Gotta love that name, Nacho, right? Catching, we've got Sean Murphy. Left field, Jurickson Profar. He's a newcomer this year. Center field, Michael Harris II. Right field, right now, we probably have a platoon of Brian De La Cruz and Jared Kelenic. And in right field, when he returns in May, obviously is going to be Ronald Acuna Jr. Now, they've had a lot of talk about, losing Max Fried and what are they going to do with that? Tell you the truth, there's a lot worse rotations out there and a lot worse rotations just in the division. I think the Mets have a shit rotation possible, and I'm not really impressed with theirs, but the Braves have a returning rotation of Chris Sale, Spencer Schwellenbach, Ronaldo Lopez. They get Spencer Strider returning at the end of May. We have A.J. Smith-Sawyer, Grant Holmes, and Bruce Elder. So all of those players have had impactful games at certain times, and I think they'll be able to survive until Spencer Strider comes back. Now, what's funny to me, though, is, watch the Braves and keep an eye on Michael King and Dylan Cease of the Padres. Now, the Braves have coveted Dylan Cease for a long time, and if they could acquire him, it would be kind of cool in returning home, as he grew up in Alpharetta, Georgia, and played high school ball at Milton High School. Cease is in his age 29 season, and he's been very durable, averaging 32 starts in the past 4 years, while throwing around 108 innings. He's going to be making about $13.75 million this year, and this is his walk year as he becomes a free agent in 2026. I think that's why the Padres are going to dump him. Now, Cease could be looking for a potential contract of 5 years, 135, and that's $27 million per year as the least amount. Ironically, Dylan Cease has a comparable career record to Max Fried. And Fried is the more accomplished pitcher, and he's slightly older than Cease. But if Max Fried got 8 years and $218 million from the Yankees, well, I don't know. I have not been right on any of these contracts. They all seem to be exploding through the roof of what we think. Now, Dylan Cease is easily looking at probably 6 years, $160 million. Now, why would the Braves not sign Max Fried and then circle around to pursue Dylan Cease? That's the only thing that doesn't make sense for me. Now, it doesn't click. But as always, do not count out Alex Anthopoulos for pulling off a great acquisition if he can. But getting back to the comparison between Max Fried and Dylan Cease, from the career start on both these players, Max Fried's been in 168 games, Dylan Cease 156. Max Fried leads in WAR at 24.1 to 16 for Dylan Cease. One-loss record? Max Fried has definitely got the upper hand here, but that's because he's been with the Braves, So he's got a 73 and 36 one-loss record, and Dylan Cease is 57 and 46. Don't forget, he played for the shit White Sox too, ERA, Max Fried leads with a 307, Dylan Cease 375. But in strikeouts, Dylan Cease is more of a strikeout pitcher. He's got 1,016 strikeouts to 863 for Max Fried. And his strikeout percentage is slightly higher at 28.4% of the time and 23.9% of the time for Max Fried. So it's an interesting find. Once again, if you're interested in looking at this comparison, go to baseballreference.com and scope it out. Now, there's one other thing. Now, everybody, I think, is aware of this, but it hasn't really been said much. The Braves knew they had a down overall year last year, but they didn't panic. Now, they have a strong lineup entering the season, and the big thing is runs scored. Duh, right? I mean, runs scored. It's hysterical. I got to bring this up. Okay, so what are we in? The first few games of spring training? And what team sucked last year and didn't make the playoffs with great pitching and they couldn't score? The Seattle Mariners, right? So ironically, what do they want to do this year? Score. So I find it hysterical that the past 3 games they've scored 10, 11, and 12 runs. I know it's spring training, but, that's a good sign. I mean, a really good sign because they didn't score for shit last year, and that's why they didn't make the playoffs. But the Braves in 2024 scored only 704 runs. That's an average of 4.35 runs per game. Now you say, well, it's not that bad. No, it's not. But when you look at the 2023 Braves, who scored 947 runs, and they averaged 5.85 runs per game. Wow, that's a major decline. So 2023 had the pitching staff give up about 716 runs, while last year's staff gave up only 607 runs. So the offense was the major difference from 2024 to 2023. This is why I see the Braves putting up better offensive numbers across the board. It was remarkable that the down offensive team they had last year And the swing in wins was 104 in 2023 to 89 from last year. That seems drastic, but overall, I wonder how they won 89 games. So the big question is, will the Braves improve back to 104 wins? I don't think so. The National League East is one of the toughest divisions in baseball, and I anticipate the Mets and Phillies both winning over 86 games. I'm looking at the Braves taking the division with 95 hard-earned wins. Now, not many teams can already look forward to adding an all-star caliber player coming in May. And that's what the Braves will look forward to, as they'll have Acuna's return late in the month and also Spencer Strider. So they are both going to make impactful returns. So I think this division really may come down to the first 2 months of the year because, if the Phillies and Mets are competitive and they stay close, all three of these teams staying close to each other, I think that the Braves are going to make a big impact getting these players back. Now, will Acuna return with a vengeance? I don't know if he's going to return healthy enough like he did last time he injured his knee. And I think we've seen the last of Acuna stealing 70 bases. That doesn't mean he won't be impactful, though. He's still going to be an impact in the Braves lineup. Let's see if the right field platoon of possibly Brian De La Cruz and Jared Kelenic can hold down the fort until Acuna's return. Now, I am a bit concerned over Ozzie Albies and his recent history of missing injuries and missing games. Now, he only played in 99 games last year, and that was a drastic change from the 146 he played in 2023. Now, he's had some injury issues, but he's been pretty consistent throughout his years. And, a typical Ozzie Albies year was like 30 home runs with 100 RBIs, hitting in the 260 kind of range. And that's what we wonder. Are we going to get that this year? I am looking for a bounce back season, and Ozzie will make $7 million this year. It's his 9th year with the Braves, and he has a team option for 2026 and 2027 at $7 million per year. Now, I don't really see this relationship ending as long as Ozzie has the year that we're all expecting. And what would be that? Like I said, I'm looking at 140 games played, 87 runs, his typical 30 doubles, 26 home runs, 89 RBIs, and hitting about 268. That would be a much desired year, worthy of an extension. So 2025 is a big year for the future of the Braves and Ozzie Albies. So stay tuned on that one. Now, speaking of a bounce back year, what about Austin Riley? Now, Austin Riley averaged 159 games played for 3 years in a row, and then injuries hit him last year, reducing his games played to 110. As Austin enters his 7th year at age 28, the Braves are looking at him to put up a typical season. And what's a typical Austin Riley season? Playing at least 155 games, scoring 92 runs, hitting 36 home runs with about 96 RBIs, and hitting in the mid to upper 270s. Now, Austin Riley has 7 years left on his contract extension, and he's earning $22 million this year. It's the largest contract in the Atlanta Braves history, and I'm looking for a consistent year from him. It's interesting info on how Austin Riley compares to another potential free agent this year that's over in Chicago. The Cubs' Kyle Tucker. Now, he's going to be a free agent at the end of 2025. And, the reason why the Astros traded him is because they didn't think they could sign him. And these two players, holy crap, they are incredibly similar. Austin Riley and Kyle Tucker. You look at the games played, Austin Riley has about 719 games to Kyle Tucker's 633. Home runs of 153 for Austin Riley to 125 for Kyle Tucker. RBIs are close. Austin Riley's got 429 in his career, and Kyle Tucker's got 417. Now, obviously, Kyle Tucker's got a little more robust speed, and he's stolen 94 bases to Austin Riley's 5. Austin Riley doesn't really... he's not a plug on the bases, but he's not a speedster either. Now, batting average, you couldn't get any closer. Now, that one, Kyle Tucker has the lead with 274 career average so far, compared to Austin Riley's 272. On base percentage, 353, Kyle Tucker leads. Slugging, 516, he leads over 502 for Austin Riley. And the OPS plus is pretty similar as well. 139 for Kyle Tucker for his career and 123 for Austin Riley. You know, even their championships and All-Stars and Gold Glove and Silver Slugger awards, very similar. You know, they each have one championship. Kyle Tucker's been in 3 All-Star games. Austin Riley 2. Gold Glove goes to Kyle Tucker. He has his first Gold Glove. And Silver Slugger Award, Austin Riley has 2 to Kyle Tucker's 1. So those two have been incredibly similar. And now over at first base, there's Matt Olson. And he's another Brave who had a poor season last year as well. Now, Matt enters his 10th season this year at age 30. So he is a proven commodity and, you know, one of the most consistent and healthy players for most of his career. You know, he's played all 162 games for the past 3 seasons. And he enters 2025 looking to bounce back as well. He's not bouncing back from injuries. He just had a poor offensive production as he had drops in batting average, runs, RBIs, home runs, and OPS plus. Now that brings us to completing the infield with Orlando Arcia. I guess you could label Arcia as the weak point in the Braves' offensive lineup. He had a decent year last year, but his OPS plus, you know, it dropped from 99 in 2023 to 73 last year, which was way below league average. Excuse me. Now, the Braves have introduced some internal competition for him this spring, and they've been bringing in Nacho Alvarez Jr. But I'm not really sure if the Braves are ready to give him that opportunity. Arcia is signed for $2 million this year with a team option for 2026. Now, don't forget, catching. We had some changes in catching, right? Sean Murphy, who's looking to improve on a lost year from last year. And with Travis Donald not being re-signed, the Braves are hoping their investment in Murphy is not a bust. Now, Murphy's entering his 3rd year with the Braves, and at age 29, it's going to be a big year. Now, I'm kind of looking for Murphy to have a year like 123 games played, 60-ish runs scored, 17 home runs, 68 RBIs, 250 average-ish, with an OPS plus of 125. That would be returning to his offensive production and would be just what the Braves would look forward to. His defense still is stellar, so let's see what develops with him. Now, the Braves have returning players who have proven results, and they added a couple of new outfielders. As we said, Ronald Acuna will probably be returning in late May. In left field, the Braves signed Jackson Profar from the San Diego Padres as a free agent. Now, what can we look forward to after he had the best year of his career after 11 seasons in the league? That's a good question. Is he a one-year fluke or has he figured it out? Well, if he's figured it out, the Braves would be probably pretty happy with 145 games played from him, 85 runs scored, about 18 home runs, 70-ish RBIs, hitting about 265 with an OPS plus of 125. I think after having Jared Kelenic in left field, this kind of production would be welcomed. Now in center field, Michael Harris II, I think he wants to be much more consistent. And this is the year I believe he makes a statement if he stays healthy. It's his age 23 year, he's still very young, and he's entering his 4th year with the Braves. His average in OPS plus really dipped last year. He hit 297 and 293 his first 2 years, and then he dipped to 264 last year. So I think he's looking to show that his first year impact is not going to be his only and big year. So I'm looking at him for a good 140 games, 89 runs scored, about 34 doubles, 5 triples. It wouldn't surprise me to see him pull off a 2020 year with 24 stolen bases, 21 home runs, and a nice 73 RBIs with a 286 average. So let's see what kind of year he has. So obviously the return of Ronald Acuna will be highly anticipated. And the Braves have to wonder if they're going to get a healthy version returning. I'm projecting Ronald Acuna Jr. to have about 130 games played this year, still producing 95 runs, 32 stolen bases, 30 homers, and 94-ish RBI. I'd like to hope that he hits about 287 this. Seeing this kind of production, I'd look forward to that, and I think the Braves would too. The big question is Brian De La Cruz and Jared Kelenic, can they hold down the fort in right field until his return? So basically, we are saying we anticipate the Braves to return to a 2023 offensive form. Only time will tell. I'm looking forward to a great competitive division. It appears the National and American League Eastern divisions could be the best in baseball. I think that wraps up our take on the Braves in 2025. Now, I hope you enjoyed our 6th episode of Season 2 of Mo's World, the Baseball Podcast. Our next episode will air on Friday, March 7th, and each episode is approximately 20 minutes long. So thank you for listening, and please spread the word to your friends. In the meantime, ask yourself, whose world is it? It's Mo's World.